The man that transcended the sport has been through his fair share of troubles over the last 6 years, and a lot has come out over the course of the last week over this McGregor's trial. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, he was involved in a trial against Nicky Hand. This was regarding an incident that took place after UFC 229 in 2018. Alleged sexual assault. McGregor has been found guilty of it, and he's having to pay out a fine. Obviously, we're going to sit and speak about it today. I'm going to review some of the case files that we've got here, and we're going to sit and talk about it. I've got notes. I've got my cup of tea. It's freezing cold right now. I think this room's about 2 degrees because this is like an outside shed room we've got, and we're going to sit and break this whole thing down. And I want to say this: when a man goes from nothing to something to everything, then back to nothing again, typically it shows what type of man he is if he can bounce back, and I'm sure McGregor will bounce back. He's claiming he's appealing this decision. He thinks the court has made it a complete incorrect decision. So we'll see. We'll have to just see. Okay. Conor McGregor found guilty in a civil court, and a lot of people were confusing this and confusing the outcome. A civil court is not a criminal court. Civil court's decision making essentially is based down to the two people going against each other and which story is more applicable, which story is more believable, and what is the most realistic scenario. And obviously you give both things of evidence, you have all your witnesses the same way a criminal court would deal with it. However, the jury isn't down to, there's no chance of going to prison or criminal sentencing, because this is essentially someone suing someone for a crime, but you can't exactly prove it. You guys can understand it's a civil court case, which means it's not a criminal court case, so there's no chance of prison time here. It was just you have to pay off of the damages, so obviously that might be PTSD or money they've spent having to pay for this whole process and marketing, or not marketing, but you get what I mean. And I think it's around £250,000. It's a bit less if you're doing it in euros. It says €250, so it'll be a bit more than that in pounds, or less than that. So I mean, 250 grand from this for Nikita Hand, McGregor is to hand over out of his pocket. That's not going to be a huge dent on McGregor. However, it's just one of those things. Your public image is massively important. I know he's been dropped by one brand already, and that was the Hitman game. He had a DLC with them, and he had rights and equity in the shares if someone was to purchase the DLC and play as him in his mission. And they've completely dropped him. They've cut all ties with him, and now that DLC is no longer playable. So far, this is the only brand that's dropped him. Obviously, McGregor's like a big name, and he's got loads of his own companies. However, he does work with a lot of brands as well. Obviously, this could tarnish a lot of things like whiskey sales, clothing sales, Tidal Sports sales, McGregor Sports and Entertainment deals. This is massively detrimental for him, his family, for everything. But I've got loads of notes here. And we're going to kind of be defending him a little bit here, to be honest. I mean, I am in no position to say if this did happen or didn't happen. That's up to the court to decide. However, obviously it's a civil case. A lot of it's public because it's such a high-profile case. And Nikita Hand was... A lot of her story did not add up, I will say that. And, in the build-up to this alleged incident happening, she was trying to get McGregor's attention, sending him photos, trying to get his attention, trying to get a rise out of him in a sense, or something else rising, obviously, by the end of the night. And she had a partner at home, a boyfriend at home. And obviously McGregor said during this time, they were both on cocaine. And McGregor admitted to that, which is, he's done it for years. We know he's been on it for years. Since the Khabib fight, he was on a bit of cocaine, came back, looked awful. Well, it looked good against Cerrone, but you could definitely tell he was getting clean and really dealing with something at that point in time. And I think he's been on it consistently for the past 6 to 8 years, I'd imagine. It was 8 years ago last week where he won his second world title, and that was the last credible win he's ever had. That's 6 years. Or 8 years. Whatever. What did I... It's 8 years, sorry. It's so depressing. 2016 was 8 years ago, and it's almost a decade ago it was over a decade ago McGregor was in his prime, so Conor McGregor, you can't really look at him as a fighter at the moment because he's got so much going on, and it's not an ideal situation at all. Anyway, let's get back into this. So first of all, they were doing cocaine. the whole evening, allegedly. Well, no, not allegedly. They both admitted to that. And she was kissing all over Conor McGregor in a lift. There was witnesses to say that she was kissing him all over his body before the incident, all during the evening, when she had a partner at home as well, a boyfriend at home. And McGregor had a friend there, and the friend's name is James Lawrence. Now, James Lawrence and McGregor, they had a adjoining hotel room, and there was Nikita Hand and Nikita Hand's friend, who actually was a work colleague of her at the time. Okay, now both of them were in this double joining hotel room, probably a big suite. Nikita Hand and McGregor were in one room. James Lawrence and Nikita Hand's friend, a work colleague, were in the other room. Right, also a lady. The people in the other room, right? James Lawrence said she was absolutely fine, and the other lady who was with James Lawrence in the other room said they were both fine after the incident that allegedly took place. And then James Lawrence claims he then had sex with Nikita Hand after that. Right? Do you kind of get so the whole and this is where it gets a bit sticky when it comes to the trial here. Okay, let me quickly tell you this. Nikki Hand has claimed that James Lawrence also sexually assaulted her. However, during the trial, she said she has no recollection of ever having sex with him. James Lawrence claimed they did. She says they didn't, but now she's claiming sexual assault. So she's just... A lot of this isn't adding up. Her best friend says they were absolutely fine after the incident. And, this was years ago now. This was 6 years ago, so... There's a lot that's gone on in the past 6 years, and she made a statement, as you guys have probably seen on YouTube. It's been blowing up. She sat and spoke to the RT, Irish Press, and all the BBC, the news sources, after the verdict was reached. And obviously, there's now a process in place of where McGregor's going to appeal. However, she will still get her money realistically. Okay, I'm going to quickly show you this. Right, the verdict announced: Did McGregor assault Nikita Hand? The verdict was yes. Okay, there we go. Did James Lawrence assault Nikita Hand? No. The court remained quiet, and then the details of the damages were announced and how much McGregor had to pay. The guy in the other room claimed he had sex with her after Conor, but Nikita Hand denies it. Okay, she's denying that ever happened, and now he's claiming sexual assault. It doesn't really add up. Nikita Hand has no memory of anything except what favours her claims, which is suspicious, first of all, and has sued the friend for sexual assault. However, the verdict was he didn't do anything wrong. The trial claimed she has no memory of having sex with him either. It's a really, really messy case, and a lot of inconsistencies are in her story. She has no recollection of anything that happened that night, claiming it was because of trauma and the drugs they were on. However, she claims that McGregor got her in a chokehold and said, "This is how it felt when I was tapped out in the octagon 3 times." If McGregor was on drugs, he was coping with that loss to Khabib. This was a few months after, and he's saying that's his way of coping with the fact that he got submitted 3 times. It's very bizarre behaviour. I can't imagine him doing that. And that kind of sounds like she's taking a dig at him. Almost like, yeah, he was tapped out 3 times and he was using that as a way of power over me to show that he was capable of submitting someone. I think that was a really weird thing that came out of this, and I truly kind of don't really believe that would have happened. Obviously, I wasn't there. It's a civil court case. Everyone puts their evidence forward. However, there's so many inconsistencies within this story. And I'm not here to discredit this lady and her claims, because I understand these things do happen, and they're traumatic. And after this incident allegedly happened, they were cutting about a hotel, absolutely fine, cuddling, kissing, all this. Dee Devlin was taken to the stand, McGregor's fiance, and essentially was saying that it was consensual. They obviously have an arrangement going on. I mean, Dee and McGregor, they're both rich. They'll both have their little side pieces and just be keeping the family life maintained. I mean, that's what happens when you have hundreds of millions and so many different emotions and opportunities. And I mean, it's a really, really messy case. Like, this is so messy. Then Dee Devlin came in and was like, look, they had a little situation. She was aware of it, completely consensual. And I want to say this as well. Nikita Hand's best friend was in the other room, and she came to the stand and was like she was absolutely fine afterwards, and that's a very close friend and work colleague saying she was fine. Doesn't really make much sense. I mean, if she was assaulted as brutally as she said she was and strangled, but then was laughing and giggling and kissing with him after the fact, hours later in the hotel, and Dee Devlin saying she knew about this arrangement, and it's a very, very bizarre situation. And the fact she has no memory of anything except the brutal parts and the stuff McGregor said, but she has no memory of anything else, and they were both taking cocaine, and then she claims she can't remember doing that. Like, it's just very, very convenient. And obviously they went with whose story is more believable. I kind of feel like McGregor's been wronged here. Now, if this did happen, I mean, this is tragic, like, obviously, but I've been reading the whole court case and following the whole case all week, and I do not, by any stretch of the imagination, claim McGregor is a nice man. I think he's a good man. He does well by his family. However, this is devastating for him, and this is not okay. And if this did happen, he's an absolute scumbag and a terrible person. We have to hold him to the same standard as we hold other people of the public morally, because if we just hold famous people less accountable for doing stuff like this because they're famous, because they've got money, because they can pay the best people to get them out of it, it's not okay. It's really not okay. I can't say the word, obviously. I'm just reading it up right here a little bit. So yeah, this was on December 9th, 2018, 2 months after his loss to Khabib. Well, a month and a half. Nikita Hand claims she was raped by the MMA star that day. He claims that it was fully consensual, which we know. But this is the thing. Nikita Hand sat one end of a wooden bench towards the back of the courtroom, her partner Gary at her side. A row of chairs had been placed behind the bench to accommodate her other participants, and McGregor sat opposite. Now, one thing about this lady, right, Nikita Hand, she had a partner at home and, cheated or whatever. If something so traumatic had happened to her, and then she's going home to her partner, right, and they're confiding in each other, and the partner was 100% convinced McGregor forced this situation, they would not have broken up a few weeks later. This is the thing. It was about 3 weeks after this incident happened that they were not a thing anymore. He left Nikita Hand, and I believe that was because he found out about this situation, and it probably maybe it ruined her life a little bit, and she was like, look, I need to get something out of this bad situation. And then obviously she was on the Grape crisis hotline shortly after that. She made a statement. We're not going to react to the statement in this video. I just wanted to come out here and clear the air and kind of give you my thoughts on the truth behind this trial. I would love to see McGregor appeal and get his name cleared. He doesn't need this, and this is the last thing we need. It's just prolonging everything. Hearing about the cocaine use. 208,000 Great British pounds is being paid to this lady, which is a lot of money. However, for McGregor, he can afford that. However, he's got that on his record now. A civil case loss. He's now a sex offender, essentially. He's a rapist now. So it's just one of these things. This was how the final day of court unfolded, and a lot of this stuff doesn't make much sense. I'm going to continue reading up about it, and if another video is in order, I will make another video, because it's an MMA channel. This is the biggest superstar in MMA. We need him in the sport. I'd rather he gets his name cleared and competes again, for the fans' sake and for the channel's sake and for everyone's sake. So please subscribe, guys. Give me your thoughts. And as of today and as of right now, he's guilty.